Seeing as put on the thongs, we're on Australia. Not hello folks this time, it's g'day from Sandown. This is round one of the MSC Formula 5000 Trans-Tasman Revival Series. And the racetrack, well, it's a little bit like Pukekohe. It's situated around the outside of a horse racing track. One man that was here in the 70s in the genuine Tasman Series with Ken Smith. We caught up with Ken and got his thoughts on this amazing circuit.
I've only done a couple of sessions here and since '76, but the track has changed a lot. It's a bit narrow through the S's and the track's a little bit too tight in places. It's a bit hair raising over the top of the hill. You've got to get up there and you see nothing till you get up there. And they've got an old road that used to be part of the circuit years ago. And I think poor old Stan turned in there yesterday. And every time I go by it, it draws you in because you can't see the rest of the road until you drop off the other edge, you know. But so you just got to keep looking to the right. It's the greatest thing you could ever want to drive, that magic, and you know, they've done a Formula 5000 Association has done a magic job. You know, David Abbott's put a lot of effort into this, and now it's probably stronger than it's ever been in its life.
The VACC Historic Sandown meeting had been named the Return of the Thunder to signify the return of the MSC Formula 5000 Tasman Cup Revival Series and the V-8 sports sedans and the fire-breathing Group N category cars.
Return to the Thunder is what it's all about. When you get, say, as we have now, 25,000 on the grid, when they all start up, the ground actually shakes. It really is awe-inspiring. Sandown is the last international track left. It's a 5,000 ostensibly track, which is fantastic. The New Zealanders have been coming over now for about 4 or 5 years now, and it's really fantastic to have you over here. It really is. We see cars we don't see before, and it really is entertaining. People come here and they think old historic racing is sort of veteran cars. Well, as you can see, they're certainly not veteran cars. They're as fast as any car. I think we get up over 300 and something k's down the back straight here, so they're fast.
Another Australian that knows just how fast these cars are is Aaron Lewis, today driving his Chevron B24.
We're starting to get some of the Australian cars on the track. Chris Hocking's got the John Goss Manage, didn't make it, and Darcy Russell's Lola didn't make it, but we have seen a few cars here that haven't been on the track for a long, long time. A couple of Elfins up there. We are starting to get more cars on the track, but really it's almost inexcusable that we don't have 10 5,000s on the track, and we haven't reached that yet.
A lot of people look at our coverage and they think, oh, these guys are just gentleman racers, but I've seen races where you're banging wheels, aren't you? It's pretty serious out there.
Oh, look, you're going very fast and the judgment has to be there, and for sure, you occasionally come off with a dab of paint on you or someone else's wheel mark. You try and avoid that at all costs, but you know, at the end of this straight, you're doing 155, 60 mile an hour. At the top, you're doing 175 miles an hour. But things are happening very fast at those speeds. And then as you come in from those high speeds into slow braking, it's very, very hard to judge safely. And we get very, very close. So, I mean, that's the reality of racing. We say it's 8/10 because we always have that safety factor in the back of our minds. But, I mean, the lap times, and I'm by no means the fastest car, but my times in this car are identical at every circuit to the V8 supercars.
Back after a one-season sabbatical was past Formula 5000 Revival champion Ian Clements. He took his new Lola T332 to 6th fastest in qualifying. Getting better with every race he entered was Aaron Burson in the Talon MR1A, 5th quickest. Napier's Sefton Gibbs was next in 4th quickest time. Driving the ex-Ian Clements championship winning car, he was smooth and fast, as these pictures show. 3rd quickest was another past champion, Auckland's Stuart Lush in the New Zealand design McRae GM1. Making up the all-New Zealand front row was Tony Richards in his Lola T332. Marked down as one to watch after great previous performances, he more than lived up to his advanced billing and pushed the evergreen Ken Smith all the way to the top spot.
We've got to be patient in these cars, just trundle it and start squeezing partway around the corner, and by the time you're straight, it should be hard on the deck.
Probably going to be the favourite here, although Robson looks like he's pretty quick in the T332.
You know, I don't like being defeated before I get out there, but Robson's, I think, would have most of the field buggered this weekend. He knows the track, and at the end of the day, we haven't done many miles here, and we're still trying to work and get the car working 100%, and we don't get enough mileage where in your own hometown you can test. So, you know, I'll be happy with running the top 3.
It was a good qualifying for me. The boys at Automotion have put together a great car. They've worked really hard on it over winter. In fact, we weren't going to come to the Australian round, so they've done a fair bit of overtime in the last month or two. The car's feeling better than it's ever felt before, and I got plenty of clear tracks, so I had no excuses, and yeah, it was good qualifying. I came here a couple of years ago and had a bit of an incident on turn 6, and I'm afraid I'm a bit tentative around there. But I'm just working my way into a decent braking point. But I think that may take the rest of the weekend, actually, to get that nailed. It's a privilege to be driving these cars and to showcase them for the fans. They're an incredible adrenaline rush to drive. But to be honest with you, one of the best things about racing these cars is the group of guys who race them. It is a fantastic crowd. It's competitive, but it's not over the top. Everyone's in there pitching in to help everybody when something goes wrong, and we all socialise at night. It's a fantastic scene.
I'm absolutely wrapped. I can't even believe it, to be honest, because I didn't think I'd be going that well. So we're really pleased. We've just got a couple of little changes we're going to make. Yep, it's a little bit bumpy out there, so we just want to raise the car a little bit, and hopefully we'll go on and do better things.
Last time we saw you, you were involved in a real big battle with Tony Richards for a spot in the finals of the championship. I guess he's going to be there or thereabouts this time, and of course your old car owner back with a new car here this weekend.
I know, the battle just keeps getting more intense. So I see Tony's second on the grid, so it looks like that's going to be a series-long battle as well. And Ian tells me he was getting a bit emotional following his old car around the track, so I had to hand him a handkerchief.
The rolling starts are an all-Kiwi front row for race 1 with the Lola T332 of Tony Richards, more than keeping evergreen Ken Smith honest down the long front straight and into turn 1. A blown third gear in the David Abbott-owned Lola T430 of Smith saw Richards move through to the lead on lap 3, and Smith dropped back to 4th behind Stuart Lush in the McRae and Ian Clements in his Viceroy Lola T332. Tony Roberts was having his best race in his McLaren M22, coming through the field from his 8th qualifying spot to end up 4th. Smith was back in the game, shifting from 2nd straight to 4th gear in his Lola. That was enough to get him back up to 2nd place, but it wasn't enough to stop Tony Richards drawing first blood at Sandown.
That's what these guys want to see. I mean, they talk about it being a gentleman class. That's It's a hard charge class, and we're probably driving hard or harder than we drove back in the 70s. Tony's driving bloody good, extra good, and we lost third gear after the second lap. And then I was driving a bit panicky, and I was losing more ground. So I settled down and I started going direct from 2nd to 4th, and then it was catching them back up again, these guys. So, you know, I was happy with it in a sense, but I mean, I would have loved to have won it.
He had a few gearbox problems. I think it wasn't so easy for him, but we had a good race. The boys at Automotion put a lot of effort to put the car together. We don't need to race for the first corner. There's plenty of racing to be done in the next 8 laps.
Showing that he'd lost none of his pace after a season away was third placed Ian Clements.
It's always a constant development, but it's pretty raw at the moment, and we've been working through some handling issues here, and we'll continue to work through. But no, it's obviously a good result there, and obviously on the pace, so we're getting there. The master, of course, young Kenny Smith, you know, he had a gearbox problem, but managed to actually still take me out again. So I was hoping he was going to give us a second, but no, it wasn't to be. But he did a fine job as usual.
It wasn't all good luck for the Kiwis. Russell Greer suffered driveline ailments that meant more work in the pits for the small, dedicated team.
After about 2 laps, I lost top gear, and it was going really well until then, and so I was cruising around in 4th, and then 3rd went, and then it wouldn't stay in 4th. So we've got something pretty dramatically wrong inside the gearbox. So this will be the 3rd time we've had it out, and got 24 hours, so we're getting pretty good at it.
You've got your overalls on now, you're working overalls, you're just taking your driving overalls off.
Twin brother. Yeah, no, we run a pretty lean operation. It's only Cheryl and I that do it, and it's very lucky she's still helping me after the day. Yeah, no, it's good.
In race 2, the front row Kiwis, Smith and Richards, found out pretty quickly that 2 doesn't go into 1. Well, not at turn 1 at Sandown anyway. This brought out the safety car to pick up new race leader Ian Clements in his Lola T332.
Tony and I had a bit of a touch. It was just an accident because Tony's a great guy to drive with and gives you room, and he just pinged the edge of the tyre and that sent me around.
Getting a great view from the back of the action, Tony Roberts.
I was in behind Kenny in 4th spot, and I was trying to stay with Ken so that maybe I could get the jump on the 3rd spot, and he was trying to get the jump on the 1st spot, and they just seemed to touch as they turned in, and I think Tony's front wheel just touched Ken's back wheel, and it spun Ken around, and then they made further contact. And we were just able to get by them around the outside as they were rolling back on the circuit. So we had quite a good jump if they hadn't brought the safety car out.
Unfortunately, neither Richards nor Smith were able to continue in the race. This left the door wide open for fellow Kiwis and the best of the Aussies, Andrew Robson, to fight for the win. When the green flag finally flew, it was two mainlanders in the front, Ian Clements and Stan Redmond. Following them, Roberts in the McLaren M22 and Robson in the ex-Ken Smith New Zealand Grand Prix winning Lola T332. Redmond slipped past Clements at mid-race and was never headed. Second was the Lush McRae, but with Chris Hyde at the wheel. Clements again third.
Tony and Ken had it coming together. I think it was actually Kenny who caused that one. Sort of chopped him off, and I happened to be behind him, so I got the lead then, the way I went. Oh no, I got behind Ian. Yeah. And the way I went. So other than that, it was a good race.
Stu Lush had decided to sit out the second day's racing in his McRae. This opened the door for series defending champion Chris Hyde to slip into the seat for a one-off drive.
First time around here, I've been here before, but never done a lap, so it was interesting to get my head around the car. Stuart Lush was so kind to let me drive the car. Same car as the one I won last year in the GM1 McRae. I originally came over here to manage, and I still am managing Ian Clements, his beautiful 332, but I got the call last night, so I had to get my head around jumping in this car this morning and going and doing 2 laps, and it was interesting, but like the car's flying, and it's nice to feel that feed on the power again, and it's just all come back into play. It's great. Loving it. We only really had a couple of laps to really get into it. It would have been nice to get one more lap in there to maybe get a win, but Stan won, so good on him. He's a good old boy, and having Ian Clements on the podium with me, which is brilliant too, so this race will be good. I'm going to go for it.
And go for it he did. After coming from the back of the field in race 2, starting near the front in race 3 meant the field may not see much of Hyde in the Lush McRae. There was a much better showing for Andrew Robson driving the 63, the top Australian. Ken Smith was involved in a tough scrap for 3rd place with Ian Clements and Stan Redmond. Smith would eventually secure the 3rd spot but run out of laps to catch the Aussie Robson in 2nd. Stan Redmond would finish 4th. Hyde won the race comfortably in the Stu Lush-owned McRae. The defending series champion was ecstatic.
We had Andrew Robson give me a bit of a hard time from behind, so he had me eyes in the mirror, and it wasn't that easy, but we got there at the end, and I'm so grateful for everyone involved, helping me, letting me do it. The whole group of drivers had to get together and make a decision. We wanted to fill the field. We didn't want to have a car out of the off the track, and Stuart was obviously totally grateful for Stuart Lush and Jeff Alping and Ian Clements for bringing me over here as well. So everything came according to plan. It was just like getting back on the bike. It was just great, and Sandown, it's an out-of-it circuit.
We've had some really niggling engine issues all weekend, and even in that race, the engine actually cut out twice for reasons I do not know why, but I managed to just bring it home in 2nd at least, so it was really great.
Are you impressed with the Kiwi speed and the ability of some of the guys out there?
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, they are really setting a cracking pace, and the quality of the show that they bring here, and their cars are just presented beautifully, and are really good cars, and it's great to have them all here.
Having to start off the back was frustrating, but the car was fast enough to be a winner, no doubt about that. I think if we look at the sheets, you'll probably find I did a 9.8, which is a real good time. and I wanted another couple of laps.
Yeah, I think another couple you were on the podium.
Not two, but it's not taking away from Chris, because at the end of the day, hey, he jumped in a car, he hadn't seen the circuit, he did a very, very good job. He's a remarkable driver, Chris Hyde.
The first and the fourth wasn't too bad. First, the fourth, and a sixth. But that last race there, I was running out of pump. It was a bit hot here, 25 degrees, just about kills me, you know. But I thought I was going to cruise in on third and get the wine, but I didn't get it. Old Kenny nicked past me.
With consistent performances in all three races, including a win in race 2, it is Stan Redmond that leads the MSC New Zealand Formula 5000 Tasman Cup Revival Series after round 2. Round 2 see the drivers stay in Australia, and we'll see that after the break.